a little bit earlier, and one kid ran in. I thought I'm gonna make it a very authentic experience, this being my first live and all, and one and bumped his head, blood everywhere, and I had to delete the video, and it was chaos. But tonight we're quickly going to be discussing the comments on some of the previous videos, especially the one called permaculture comments. There's 54 comments on there, and I'm gonna browse through them and discuss as far as I can. I wanna go into the latest comments and discuss that. So, we are going to jump right into it. Steve Johnstonborough. I'm just going to call you Steve from now on because I'm very sure that I don't pronounce your name correctly. As discussed elsewhere in the comments, Dana, it is possible to grow forage with a simple equipment, facilities, and methods. Here is more in-depth look. Blah blah blah. I'm just quickly going to scan through it for the sake of time, but he does very nice comments. They have built a simple wooden building with windows and transparent, and then he leaves a link. So I want you, if you are interested, to go and see that there is a link discussing how to grow food. How to grow forage in simple equipment. Now I haven't seen this video yet. I'm quickly going to have a look at it. But there's people that place containers and they grow, they say 7-day-old crops in that container. Very, very interesting. I think this is what this video is probably about. Again, then there's another person that says 100% plant date palms and maybe figs, specifically Ficus illicina or Ficus vasta. Also, what is done with the ivory of the elephants. Now, this refers to two comments. One is me thinking about planting dates in our climate because we've got loads and loads of cold. The second one is thinking about talking about the culling that the government is doing, culling our elephants, culling our hippos, culling buffaloes and so on to feed hungry people. And we believe that they do that to improve the chances of getting re-elected under the guise of a drought relief. And obviously, I don't believe it is a drought relief. But I quickly want to say to this person, I thank you for the comment. I am discussing it as we speak on our live chat. I'm going to post that, but I'll copy the comment and then I'll post it with the people. That was the idea. Just 1 second. Select all. Copy. Okay. Thank you so much for waiting for me. So basically what it comes down to, this was now at AGH said plant the figs and what is being done with the ivory. Now, ivory is getting destroyed. They store them in government warehouses until they've got big mountains and then they destroy the ivory. It's a very silly thing. There's some people that believe that ivory trade should be opened, especially for legal hunting of elephants. That would do two things. It will get more money into the farmers' pockets, the people that farms with the elephants. That will in turn encourage more people to farm with elephants, because if you have elephants only for tourist purposes, then the amount of money you get in is very little. You can't afford to hire anti-poachers, you can't afford proper fences. But if you're allowed to sell ivory, especially to the Chinese, sorry, this fire is burning me in the back, I just want to move out a little bit. If you're allowed to sell ivory, especially to the Chinese, then you'd be able to get in a lot more money, you'd be able to farm a lot more elephants, be able to spend money on anti-poaching and so on. So that is one of the beliefs, but currently the ivory is being stored and then it's being discarded, put in these huge piles filled with diesel and set alight. And I don't think that is one of the things to be done. Okay. Anthony Burke. Anthony is one of the old people, old subscribers, leaves lots and lots of very fantastic comments. He says, "You're probably right about the folk." Now, this is referring to the idea that we in the desert would be able to plant redwoods, the American redwood, at the coast of Namibia in the desert. There's a discussion in the Namibian Permaculture Society about that. You're probably right about the fog. Once established over a critical size, forested areas create rain and condense fog into dew. Some plants, like the cork oaks, condense water routinely out of the air onto the dripline. Old literature said it required 4,000 acres, but I've seen microscopic areas create microclimates. It's calculated that the Amazon produces over 40% of the rain that falls on the Amazon. Do you have baobab trees? I assume you have Mpani. There is a measure. It's carbon content diversity. Now the measure he's talking about is the measure for success these days is measured in capital. So if you're a good steward of something, you get money. Um, I see 4 people there. Please leave a comment. Okay, so Stura, fantastic, says, not sure I agree with the elephant farming, but agree that the stockpile should be sold. Okay, that is fantastic. Yeah, look, farming is probably not the right word. People have game farms. It's thousands and thousands of hectares. They have elephants in there, and then they protect them. So I don't know what else you call them. It's not small cages. It's like thousands. It's like game estates or game reserves, and on there's elephants on there. Now, what happens when there's too many elephants is they get culled, the meat gets given to the local people, and the ivory gets destroyed, which I don't agree with. I don't think that's a good idea. That is Shura _TV. Okay, just to get back to Anthony's question, um, do we have baobab trees? We have baobab trees in the north, a little bit further north from us. And the Mopani we also have within 70 kilometers of us. Just across the street from me, they cut down a giant Mopani. We do have those. Mopani, the baobab is a fantastic tree, also used everywhere. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to grow them here because of the cold. However, there's one up the street that's about 20 to 30 years old. So I'm sure if you give it enough water, it will grow. And if you do it on a swale or something like that, we should have enough water here. So baobab tree is a fantastic tree. It's just a very long-term tree. Okay, so just want to comment as well that we're doing it live chat again. Anthony Burke, in my view, it boils down to how much capital you have per unit area. Sure, this is a big comment, but I'll run through it quickly. Low cost versus high cost by speed of results to an extent, excluding animals, is part of the early work, so good fencing is part of the solution. To enable the early growth, plants in plastic pipes at least a meter closer to a 2 meter long root, so they can plant them out with the roots in a subsoil moisture. That's actually an idea. So the idea is to, instead of putting them in little bags, plant them in, how long is it, 2 meter long roots. So you plant them in very long tubes close to one another, and so that when you plant them out, they've already got a root that's 2 meters deep. That's very interesting. Another tactic you may want to entertain is the use of black plastic sheeting to conserve moisture and create an active composting site under the plastic. Be aware, date palms are thirsty. In South Australia they grow date orchards, and while they are juvenile, the land is grazed. Is grazing used for intensive grazing in strips. They graze roughly 4 meter swaths, rotating over 4 months to allow pasture to recover. So they plant the dates, and then as the dates are growing, they still use the land in between for grazing. I think that's a fantastic way of using it. And every 4 months they rotate them. So they allow 4 months in between. We'll have to allow a year at least for anything to return. If you eat something, it takes a year to return. But obviously if you have more moisture somewhere, it grows faster. But there's a big period in our land where nothing grows. See, I've only got one comment. I would love for you guys to comment and say anything. That would be nice. Okay, at Carter's link said another way. Just 1 second. I just quickly wanna paste it. Another way to establish grow spots quick is to use 5-gallon buckets. Place them in all locations for needed life. These are not animal drinking water. Place organic material in each bucket and fill them with water. Water should be added daily. Only add a gallon or less. I have mine on drip lines. The organic material begins to decay. Each day, your drip lines are turned on for a second. The organic food spills and feeds the earth and flora. So basically, you have these 20 liter or 5-gallon buckets all over your site. Every day you add a gallon of water. I assume that's about 1.5 liters. No, 4 liters of water. But the material inside of them then decays and then feeds the plant around them. What I would ask her is, or him, is if you add that organic matter and you do use drip lines, then does the drip lines not get blocked? And that's the first thing I would ask. The second thing I would ask is, or would want to add, is this seems very similar to the liquid fertilizer we're currently adding to the biochar. So we added biochar or charcoal in a bucket. We added loads of organic material, and that's now rotting. I think if you keep on adding water in there, I think that would also have a similar effect, and you would be charging biochar at the same time. So I think that's a good idea. Carbos link, using local funguses to help improving establishing a living soil using local fungi. So if you use local fungi, that will help improve the establishment of living soil. I'm wondering how much moisture fungi needs. If in our dry climate, how much fungi there is available in soil. I assume a little bit deeper underneath the roots, or if you put enough mulch, you'd probably get fungi. But in the dry areas, I don't think will work. Just quickly want to reply on that. Thank you so much. This is now at Carbos link. But I want to also quickly say there's a person at Euronix. I think the comment about community versus ownership was talking about a cooperative and establishing rules together. So somebody said there's not enough community. We try to fight neighbor against neighbor. This was about people coming to steal our grazing. Physically taking a pickup, putting people on our soil, they cut the grazing and then they remove that. And then I, in the previous video, said private ownership, according to me, is the only answer to this. As soon as you put community on land, like we have in Damara land, Coco land, Bushman land, Herero land, all of those areas that we've given to tribes gets absolutely destroyed. Everybody grazes as hard as they can, because if they don't graze, then the neighbor grazes. So if there's any piece of grass, it gets eaten. They don't sell their livestock. They absolutely finish the land. And then the land is finished, the rain falls, then the next person, as soon as the rain falls, there's a little bit of grass. Nobody leaves it to grow, because you know if you're going to leave it today, your neighbor's going to graze it tomorrow. That was my point that I made, but this person said she believes, or they believe, it believes, it was talking about making cooperatives, so people owning land together and then making decisions together about land. That can work. However, getting people to agree on things is quite difficult. I'm sure it works somewhere in the world. I just haven't seen it a lot. In India, I'm now saying I haven't seen it, but in India they do make it work, with the whole village coming together, agreeing to keep animals locked up. Yeah, so in India it works. I shouldn't knock something. Just see one more comment. Greening the desert. Hey! Greening the Desert and Elephant Farm, a fantastic YouTube person. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for enjoying my daily. So today I woke up. We slept outside last night, the kids and I. My wife had some me time here at the house, and my brother-in-law, myself, and the kids, we all slept next to the fire. So this morning I woke up, I started making my YouTube video, and in being a rough and cold night, I never finished the footage. So I decided to let's give the live thing a try. But I'm glad you're enjoying my dailies. I really enjoy your comments, and I enjoy seeing your comments on other people's YouTube channels as well, which is also fantastic. Um, yeah, I'm not 100% sure if you're the channel I'm thinking of, but I'm 99% sure that I see your videos as well, and I really enjoy them as well. I just want to make sure about the name, but I think you're quite a nice YouTube channel as well. Okay, at Ruben Boerde. That's a very Dutch name, Dutch sounding name. That my ancestors is Dutch. We have a lot of Rubens, and our tribe is called a Boer. Boerde, which means farmers. My tribe is named after the occupation of farming. So, Ruben Boere says shade, that's number one. Cooling the earth, then when water is available, it won't evaporate as fast as it was. Second, wind boundaries like shrubs can provide also reduces evaporation. But I know you know that. Can't really understand what the heat and drought is doing to the land, but it's really important not to let any drop of water leave the land. But that's already in place. So I ask people what we can do about the drought. He says shade is number one, and then wind boundaries. So wind boundaries, I believe, is one of our big next things on our land to do, and it's something seriously lacking in Namibia, I think. Uh, so the Greening the Desert and Elephant Farm changed the name. I thought it looks familiar. I think it was Elephant and something else. It's a YouTube channel worth checking out. Okay. Ruben de Boer, thank you very much for your comment. I'm gonna just paste that we're currently talking about that. Okay, Casper, we had a little bit of a heated discussion, you can almost say, because they said first thing is to get rid of all the animals and to farm veg. And I said I believe animals are very important to rejuvenate the land. I don't believe getting rid of animals is the answer. However, I'm getting rid of our animals. Then Casper said to produce 1 kilo of cow meat costs 20 times more than the equivalent to beans. Chicken is 6 times more. Yeah, I think it depends on where you are, what your resources are, your methods. So if you keep cows in the barn and you farm peas in a greenhouse and water is available, then your math is mathing. However, if you have a big farm, 6,000 hectares, you throw some cows on there, pump them some water, then it's much cheaper to produce a cow than to try and produce beans. And later on in the comments you mentioned that you don't just mean beans, we mean all edible food. I understand that. I think that there's a place for both. There's a place and a time to just farm veg and trees and flora, and then there's a time to farm fauna as well. I believe there's a space for both of them on the world. Chessman said, fully agree, animals are vital to the land. Thank you, Chessman. I also believe that. Obviously, again, in moderation and used in the correct way, in the correct space. Okay. How much annual rainfall do you get there? My fiance is from Zimbabwe, and I was so surprised to find out that they actually get around 3 times more rainfall than where I live in England, since it's probably so dry there in the dry season. Praying for early rains this year. So we get about 400 mils of rain a year. It is actually, if you visualize how much 400 mils of rain is, it is a lot. That's why I believe Namibia doesn't have a water problem, it's got a water management problem. It would be interested to see, I would be very interested to see how much you guys get wherever you are in the world in millimeters or in size, in centimeters, you know. We get 400 mils, so that's 40 centimeters, like yay much, on every piece of land that we have. So if you have a roof, you get that much. All of that collects, it falls off. I calculated in dollar value, we get about 10% of our land value if we had to buy the water from the municipality. We get about 10% of the land value in the rain falling on the ground every year. So in 10 years, we should have, if we could sell the rain, we would have been able to pay off the land. Okay, Moon Hunter, which is a lady, I think living in Swakopmund and close to our town, if I remember correctly, close in our desert area. She also comments a lot and lots of useful things as well. Well, there's a program where people can buy units, in example, donate to green causes to offset their carbon footprint. Trees, bushes are planted and maintained for that. I believe spekboom, which is the elephant tree, and we are now moving into hedges, is special because it doubles the CO2 conversion. I can't remember the exact details, but normal plants convert CO2 during the day, photosynthesis, but emits it at night at a slightly lower rate, I think. Spekboom does it both in the day and the night. It uses another mechanism. Don't know if that is marketable, but it should be. So what she's referring to is there's people, especially in our dry areas, that plants thousands of hectares of this spekboom, and they sell carbon credits. It is being done, and it is a way. I don't know if the small area that I have, where they're planting spekboom and doing carbon offset credits, I don't know if I'm big enough for that. Okay, and then at 914X ask, does the city have western sewer system, or do most homes have a septic system? I often wonder if in larger cities, instead of sending sewage to the ocean to pump it to a desert area about a meter underground to provide moisture and fertilizer to grow plants. Yes, our city, our town here in the traditional white area or in the traditional welfare area does have a western sewer system where all the water goes into a sewer pipes and they run off to a sewer plant. Those ones are very dilapidated. It's basically just open sewer pits at the moment. And that system is being introduced into the traditional black area as fast as the municipality can. But the traditional black area is actually growing so fast that they have a person just working on putting in pegs for Erwin so that the new people coming and living there without paying, without buying land, his full-time job is to make sure that the squatters basically squats in square lines, so that when they have enough money to put in the sewer lines that they can reach those people. But the town is growing faster than the municipality can supply services. And then there is areas where they couldn't put in sewer lines, so they built them these sun pits. It's a pit with a little toilet block, and then in the back, on the northern side, where our sun crosses, there's a black pipe. And the black pipe heats up, pulls wind, air down through the toilet, up through the black pipe. That does two things. It keeps the smell out of the toilet house, and it dries out the material that's fallen down there. So that's one of the systems we have. And then there's people just digging pits and putting stuff in there. On our plots, we are forced to put in our own sewer system, but it has to be very sophisticated. It has to have 6 chambers, and then with a little bubbly filter thingy, and then with a pool floater in the end. So the water that comes out are almost suitable to drink, which a lot of us fight against. They do it because they say we are going to pollute the water system. But if you look at us, there's about 200 people on the plots, and there's thousands of people in the townships just crapping in the ground, and there's no sanitation, and they limit us, vastly despaired, make us do all of these expensive things. But in the township, it's as if they don't care. People can go to the toilet wherever they want, and there's no control. I just quickly want to read this comment. Hey brother, are you in Windhoek? Mr. Orange. Okay, Mr. Orange, no. We are about 300 kilometers north of Windhoek, just below the Etosha National Park, in a town called Ochivarongo. So Ochivarongo means place of fat cattle, um, in I think Herero. So it's very great for cattle farming. Most people do farm cattle here around here as well. That's our biggest farming industry. We have a gold mine just outside of town. We have a cement factory producing cement and cement bricks, owned by the Chinese now. Used to be owned by the Germans, but we have cement locally available, and then we have um, invasive bush that they make power for the gold factory or the gold plant, the mining operation, not the gold plant. They don't produce the gold here, they export everything, sorry. So, Ochi Varongo, OTJ, Ochi Varongo is the name of our town. Just quickly want to see. Okay. Excess is one of my very first subscribers. He always comments how many people I have. Watching this with the sun in my face, too interesting to see everybody's suggestions. Thank you for sharing. So that was on the video where we discussed um, what we can do about drought. Okay, Jean Richardson says, I don't support culling the animals. When food is short, the animal population, uh, by survival of the fittest, do a natural cull. Where do you get your current supply of water and what do you use for irrigation? Do you have a borehole? I am one of the very few people on the plots that has got a license to bore, because I was part of the development. I used to sell those plots, and when they applied for the borehole, I already had my plot selected. I asked them to apply for one on my land as well. So they did a big application for boreholes. All of them got approved, including mine. They drilled in different places. The only thing about drilling where we are is it's very expensive, and your chances for getting water is quite low. And then when you do get, there is minerals in there that makes it undrinkable for water for humans, but drinkable and usable on plants. So one day when I'm a little bit grown up, bigger, I'm going to be drilling for water. Currently we use municipal water. We use mostly drip irrigation, and yeah, that is it. Oh, culling of animals. Yes, when you leave animals, they do cull themselves, but it's not a pretty sight, and nobody benefits from it. If you leave animals, I've seen this on game farms, I've seen this in game reserves. If you leave animals to cull themselves, it is such a horrific sight. It's a much nicer sight to send hunters in there and harvest the numbers that they select by themselves than to have the people of the animals harvest themselves. It's not a nice thing. If you see an animal die of drought, I would much rather hunt animals when it's necessary. And I believe it's our mandate to look after the animals, to mitigate the numbers in such a way that they can survive in their best, and that we can harvest them. The same way you do with a plant. You know, you plant a plant, you harvest it when you need, you cut it down. It's the same way you do with an animal. You raise an animal, whether it's wild or domesticated. If you are in charge of the game reserve, you see the animals starting to die of drought, harvest them, sell them meat, use them for good. I believe. But it is obviously much more natural to have them die from drought. It's just not a nice thing. Mechanics for all is such a um, is such a fantastic person. He's been watching my things, and all he's just doing is sending encouraging comments. Thank you very much, Mechanics for all. I'm just gonna say we are discussing his comment. I really do appreciate him as well. Um, I've heard of Oshivarongo, lived in Windhoek for a few years. Irindi is as far as I got. Irindi is between us and Windhoek. Irindi is a very nice place. Greening the okay. Our Prosopolis, I assume, I just think it's a spell for it, or mosquito available in your area. Could it be a solution to your animal fodder plus fixing your soil? Prosopis, which I believe is what you wanted to type, I'm not sure. Prosopis is available in our area. It does grow in the township, but it's such an invasive thing in our country that when they sell new land these days, they include it on your deed that you're not allowed to plant Prosopis, because it takes over the waterways. In the south, where it's invasive, those people use it as bush fodder. They harvest them, grind them up, include that in the fodder for animals. So Prosopis could be such a magnificent plant. In our area, it grows like weeds. It's just so invasive that the government made it illegal to plant or to have or to use. Okay, so that's from Greening the Desert. Thank you so much. Yes, it is available. It's just illegal. Okay, Grace Alonso said, I saw your video where an elementary school did the water conservation as a project, so the little ones were the ambassadors of permaculture to their families and they got fresh vegetables to eat at school. So, Grace, thank you very much. This is such a wonderful idea. So they took an elementary school, they taught them about water conservation and obviously grew vegetables, and the young ones got to take that vegetables home. In impoverished world, that would be fantastic. If we have excess vegetables, the people working for us are so excited to take it away. And like we have extra land and plant his little corn there, old block of corn that he can take home. I have Moremi made his own little garden. So when you give these people the tools and the opportunity to plant, they do. Okay, just want to reply to him as well quickly. So what I did is I just copied the one comment or the saying that we're working on that in the live, and we're doing that. Okay, our Rocky Dream Elephant, that was the old name of this YouTube channel. I think what you're doing is all that to be done. We are too living in an arid environment, and the earthworks and pioneer species are helping capturing what water does for. So the elephant lady person says we are doing everything we can. It doesn't feel like it always. And I'm sorry if I called you a lady and you were actually a sir. I do still get a little bit confused with everybody commenting and taking the people away. Listen, I see my family is knocking on my glass window. Thank you so much. This is going to be the end of my video. Tell me in the comments if you like this and if we should do this again. I hope you have a wonderful day. One more comment. Have a good evening, Mr. Orange. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for viewing this. Cheers. How to stop it.